All right, everybody, welcome back to The Real Deal. Had a good discussion about exactly why oil and gas prices are spiking the way they are. It's not as simple as demand and supply. I guess if you can combine them, it's like demand and supply, but whatever. The point is this: prices are high. Now we know a little bit more about why. The question is, where do they go from here? Got a great guest to help give us the real deal on that. His name is Joe Kennedy. He is the head of Citizens Energy. There he is, looking good as always. Joe, thank you for joining us. A very urgent situation that we're facing. Nothing brings people together and makes them fearful the way gas prices do. From your perspective, what do you see as the current situation in America and what you think lies ahead?
You know, there's kind of a bizarre circumstance at this point, Chris, where we have a worldwide excess in terms of oil supply, crude oil supply, gasoline, heating oil, the refinery capacity is there, all of them in excess to what demand is. But what we have in even greater abundance is fear, and the fear of the Arab Spring that is begun in Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Bahrain, Yemen, and people are fearful of the fact that this could be headed towards some of the really big producers. And with that comes an almost unlimited price that traders and particularly the financial investors are willing to drive up the price of oil, because every time it goes up, they make more money. And that's the secret of the deal. It's no longer the oil industry, it's the financial players who are driving the price of oil.
Now, you could make a significant argument to say you shouldn't be able to trade oil the way you trade anything else because it's too important to American lives, and you shouldn't just use it as a bargaining chip at basically a poker table on Wall Street. But that's probably not going to change anytime soon. So what do you think the realities are going forward about what can be done to change our tie to the oil price?
It's an excellent question, Chris. I think you have raised sort of an interesting question about whether or not we should be having people who don't take delivery of physical barrels of oil play in the commodity game of the price of oil. That would have a dramatic impact on the price today. But I think what is in our control is how much oil we use. And that's what I get frustrated, because we don't seem to have the political leadership today that's just having a grown-up conversation with the American public. If we just simply all went out and bought cars that got 40 or 50 miles per gallon, made here in the United States, we would take 25% of the gasoline production right off the table.
So why doesn't it happen, Joe? Why do you think people ignore any type of suggestion to use less? Yes, you see your Priuses, and you see some people switching over to natural gas in their houses, but more often than not, people say, hold on a second, there's a lot more oil right here at home. We can deal with this whole shebang by drilling here. Forget about the foreign control over us. Let's just drill here like everybody else does. Then we have lots of oil and all this goes away.
Chris, when you and I were kids, this country actually exported oil. Today, we import over 60% of the oil we use. There's no way, I mean, we have more oil wells drilled in the United States. We are the pincushion of nations around the world. We have about 100 times more oil wells drilled in the United States than any other country on the planet.
What would make a difference?
Well, first and foremost, I think what we need to do is, as I say, you need to conserve the resources that we have right now, and just this isn't being colder in the winter and hotter in the summer. This is just being smart about what we buy. Every single home in America uses about 40% more energy than it needs to. All we need to do is invest in energy conservation for our homes. It makes them more comfortable, not less.
People see it as a pain in the ass, though, Joe. When you say conserve energy at home, turn off the lights, turn down the shade, people are like, that's a pain in the ass. There's plenty of energy out there. Do we just have to wake up and change our culture?
Well, to some degree, absolutely. But what I'm suggesting, Chris, is that it doesn't have to be like that. And in fact, you can make the home much more comfortable. There are plenty of ways that we can manage our resources, but we need to have leadership that talks to the American people so that this notion that somehow or another, by being actively engaged in energy conservation, that means that we're somehow eating granola and, you know, having the kind of hippy-dippy weatherman of the energy policy of this country. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is making the right investments in the right order, sequencing them properly, and enabling this country to get on top of the energy cancer that is eating away at the nation's viability, and handing it to places like Germany, like China, and like Japan and other countries around the world that are managing this issue. You go out and buy cars that get 40 or 50 miles per gallon, you will break OPEC's back. And it's as simple as that. You can do it. But we have to have a conversation where, when was the last time a president or a governor to ask the American people, or ask the people that he's elected to serve, ask them to change their behavior on how they deal with energy policy?
Personal
they just simply don't
responsibility is
do
tough.
it.
Personal responsibility is tough in politics, but I think it's a very important and strong point. Joe, I appreciate it. I'm checked on time. I thank very much, though.
Thank you, Chris, very much. It was great to talk to you.
Citizens Energy, beautiful to have your strong points. All right, interesting points from Joe Kennedy. You know, we always hear about price and supply and politics, but not that much about us. We dismiss it as being too green, too crunchy, too liberal, as Joe laid it out there. What about us? Is that the real deal? Do we have to look at the man in the mirror a little bit about oil? Interesting points. Look forward to your comments. Tweet me about it. Now, Bolo, be on the lookout. That's what we do here at The Real Deal. Got a good one. Everybody's running to cover the wedding next week. I'm not looking down at it because I'm going. But that royal wedding aside, here's a good Bolo coming out of the UK. What did they do there in response to the recession? Something a lot of you ask for all the time. Cut, cut, cut. Cut that social spending. Cut that government spending. And then we'll deal with the deficit and things will get better. Great. Look online. Lots of great articles about it. You know what they're finding right now? Crushed. They are getting crushed. They are losing jobs. Their economy is stagnating. Their indicators of economic health are lower than they expected. Lower than in a long time. What does it mean? Well, although I do bash TARP and I do bash what the U.S. government did on a regular basis here, or I question it, maybe we did the right thing compared to what we're seeing as the UK model. Maybe spending into the banks, I know it's a question of how they use that money. Are they helping small business? Are they helping people with home mortgages? I say not enough. But maybe that strategy was smarter than just cutting spending. Think about it. Bolo, be on the lookout. People are going to start coming around to the American model of spending into the economy to get more money out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching The Real Deal. Always a pleasure. See you next time.